What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We have a hell of a story unfolding here in Maricopa County with conspiracy theorists basically running our elections now. That's where we're at in 2021. But I tried to make this video 3 times. My computer at home keeps crashing, keeps messing up. So hopefully I can get through it this time. I'm gonna have to take it in. I've been trying to fix it all weekend, but anyway, you guys don't want to know about that stuff. Let's get into the story. Now, we're gonna be skipping over a lot of this because it's a really big article, and I just want to share a few certain parts with you so you guys just know exactly what it is we're dealing with here. But this little part is pretty interesting. It really sums up what exactly is kind of going on down there and just the level of shit show that it is. Almost half a year after the election Mr. Trump lost, the promised audit has become a snipe hunt for skullduggery that has spanned a court battle, death threats, and calls to arrest the elected leadership of Maricopa County, which includes Phoenix. The head of Cyber Ninjas, the Florida-based firm that Republican senators hired to oversee the audit, has embraced Mr. Trump's baseless theories of election theft and has suggested, contrary to available evidence, that Mr. Trump actually won Arizona by 200,000 votes. The pro-Trump cable channel One America News Network has started a fundraiser to finance the venture and has been named one of the nonpartisan observers that will keep the audit on the straight and narrow. Yes, Cyber Ninjas, that guy is running the thing, and he's a QAnon grifter, and One America News has been named one of the nonpartisan observers that will keep the audit on the straight and narrow. What? How? Who's deciding this? I know who's deciding it, but how can anybody with a straight face do this? Like, how can you actually say, well, One American News, they're going to be part of the observers to make sure we do this thing the right way, because they definitely don't have an agenda whatsoever. We'll get into the Cyber Ninjas guy. He's a whole nother level of batshit insane, but just on its face, how can One American News be involved in this? Can you imagine if, like, CNN was involved in some, New York Cuomo election or something? Like, can you imagine if they were like, oh, CNN is going to be overseen to make sure that Cuomo counts the ballots right? Like, what are we, like, stupid here? Like, what are we doing here? This whole story just blows my mind. And here's just one other little piece of information for you. 3 previous reviews showed no sign of significant fraud or any reason to doubt President Biden's victory, but the senators now plan to recount by hand all 2.1 million ballots cast in Maricopa County, 2/3 of the entire vote statewide. Yes, we've already been through this 3 times, but apparently that wasn't good enough because we didn't have QAnon people in charge. What the fuck? After a brief pause on Friday ordered by the state court judge, the audit continues without clarity on who will be doing the counting, what it will cost, and who will pay for the process, which is expected to last into mid-May. The One America News Network is live streaming it, and Mr. Trump is cheering on from the sidelines. But here's where we get into the interesting part, and it really shows how just unwound our politics have come, and how these super red districts that Democrats just give up on, they don't try to campaign, they don't put any money towards them, they become these super red areas, and what happened is the most fringe people in the party get elected in those areas because the most fringe people are the ones that always come out and vote in these off-year elections, and that's how we end up with these super just completely fringe, not popular people with not popular ideas in our government making laws. And stuff like this that happens in one state, that they're building the roadmap right now. This is them setting up the blueprint for how they can get this stuff done in other states, because you have a conspiracy theorist at the head of this election recount, and if there's any kind of thing that they find, any little thing, that's going to be the cue for the next state and the next state, and they're making a ton of money off of this because they're fundraising for it, and it's just a grift. It's another grift that, even though it can't affect the election, it can't change the outcome of the election, it can do a serious damage to our just whole democratic process. The Senate's rightward drift is simply explained. Political analysis say that most of the 30 Senate districts are so uncompetitive that the Democrat and Republican primaries effectively choose who will serve as senator. Because most of the voters sit out primary elections, the ones who do show up for Republicans, that often means far-right Trump supporters are the key to getting elected. Responding to stolen election claims through tougher voter laws and inquiries is by far those voters' top issue, said Chuck Coughlin, a Republican campaign strategist theorist in Phoenix. Imagine that being your top issue. Like, take your top 5 issues and then think of all the other stuff underneath that. I don't know, make a top 20 list. And then tell me where, what was it? Tougher voter laws or inquiries. Tell me where that is on that list. I don't know, maybe healthcare, maybe, knock off some student debt, maybe stop the wars, maybe, I don't know, not put people in cages. So many things that would, I just don't understand. Well, I do understand, actually. This is why propaganda is, all over the place, because it gets people to think and vote like this out of just straight fear of Democrats turning this into a socialist utopia or something. But anyway, they're representing their constituency. He said the whole process was built to produce this. Yeah, that's pretty much true. The Senate warmed to the notion of a Maricopa County audit from the first mention of it in early December. Before long, they sent out subpoenas to the county seeking the 2.1 million ballots to access the 385 voting machines and the other equipment like check-in poll books, voting machine passwords, and personal details on everyone who voted. That's right. The QAnon cyber ninja people, if you voted in Maricopa County, if you're one of these 2.1 million people, cyber ninja has your info. Hate to tell you, but he does. He's cyber ninja in it right now. The supervisors resisted calling the election fraud-free, and they said they wanted a court ruling on the subpoena's legality. So the people in charge, the supervisors, were like, let's get a court ruling first. And MAGA did not like that whatsoever. The reaction was immediate. The 4 Republicans, it's mostly Republicans, only 1 Democrat. The 4 Republicans and 1 Democrat on the Board of Supervisors were deluged with thousands of telephone calls and emails from Trump supporters, many from out of state, some promising violence. All 5 supervisors were receiving death threats, said Mr. Gallardo, the Democratic supervisor. 2 police officers were posted outside his home. Again, this is all over the 4th recount. The first 3 weren't good enough for him, and when they asked for all this stuff, hand over everything, hand over your voters' personal information, hand over the 2.1 million ballots, hand over your voting machine. They said, hold up, let's get a legal ruling first. That seems pretty logical to me. In fact, I would want my state to do that. I don't just hand shit over willy-nilly. Let's get a court ruling on this, because the whole thing seems shady from the jump street. But no, that wasn't good enough for the MAGA crowd. They decided to start sending all these people death threats. But actually it gets even worse. Hoping to head off a dispute, the supervisors hired 2 federally approved firms to conduct a forensic audit of the county's voting machines. The audit concluded that the equipment had performed flawlessly. Imagine that. Yeah. Ms. Van, who in the past had been seen as a moderate conservative, said the Senate wanted a stricter review. Senators said they had hired an independent qualified forensic auditing firm for the task. Then it developed that their selection Allied Security Operations Group had asserted that the Arizona voting machines had been hacked in an insidious and egregious ploy to elect Mr. Biden. Basically, they're batshit insane pro-Trump conspiracy theorists, and that's who they tried to get to do the audit. Then, check this part out, the senators backtracked, but Jack Sellers, the chairman of the Maricopa County Supervisors, charged in a Facebook post that they had chosen to debunk conspiracy theorists for the audit, which they had. That was just truth. That was just him explaining what had happened, because it's exactly what they did. Tempers flared, and all 16 Republican senators proposed to hold the supervisors in contempt, potentially sending them to jail. Yes, that's right. But that all fell apart after Senator Paul Boyer, a Phoenix Republican, backed out after deciding he could not jail the supervisors for disobeying a subpoena they considered illegal. Well, okay, one guy's half-ass has a brain cell, I guess. As he stood on the floor explaining his stance, again, this is one of the 16 Republicans. This is Paul Boyer, the one guy who said, hey, maybe we shouldn't jail our supervisors over wanting to get a legal ruling. As he stood on the Senate floor explaining his stance, his cell phone began buzzing with furious texts and emails. Some were threatening, some mentioned his wife's workplace and their toddler son. It was like, you better watch your back. We're coming for you, Mr. Boyer said. The family spent days in hiding before returning home with a 24-hour police guard. Yes, that's one of their own guys who said, hey, maybe we shouldn't jail our supervisors over a legal ruling He was the one that started getting death threats, had to go into hiding, and then had to have a 24-hour police guard. He was one of these 16 Republicans. Again, just shows you what level of batshit we're dealing with here. Now, they eventually had to turn over everything because like 2 weeks later, the court ruled that it was legal, and then they had some logistical issues with the cops and then where they were going to do it, where they were actually going to turn stuff over at, because they've just been shooting from the hip this whole time, and there's no actual plan. But this part talks a little bit about Doug Logan, the Cyber Ninja guy. The second firm hired to analyze the audit results, Cyber Ninjas, says it is an industry leader, but the Arizona Republic, which is a local paper, soon reported that the company's chief executive, Doug Logan, had posted a litany of stolen election conspiracy theories on a Twitter account that he had deleted in January. Among them was a retweet posted suggesting that Dominion Voting Systems, a favorite target of the right, had robbed Mr. Trump of 200,000 votes in Arizona. Dominion says Cyber Ninjas is led by conspiracy theorists and QAnon supporters who have helped spread the big lie of a rigged election. Like, this guy isn't just like, he's not low level into conspiracies. Like, he's pushing the biggest ones. He was pushing the one about Scythel. You remember the one with Louis Gohmert about the German server and how the CIA went over there and somehow there was like a squad that was working directly for Sidney Powell. Like, it was absolutely batshit. And he was pushing stuff like that. So he's not only pushing conspiracies, he's been pushing like the granddaddy, like the craziest ones where you're just like, how is this even real? Is this like an Onion article? Like, what am I reading right now? Surely people don't believe this. But that's what this guy believes, or at least what he was pushing. So at best, he's a complete grifter trying to profit off conspiracy theories. At worst, he actually believes this stuff and will do absolutely anything to get the results he wants. He might do it either way, but I mean, if he actually believes any of this stuff, that would probably be the worst outcome. He's probably just a grifter, truthfully, but I mean, who knows? Mr. Logan at a news conference last week said that the company was committed to a fair and transparent process. Yeah, well, you're not getting off to a good start there, bud. It's really, really important to us that we have integrity in the way we do this count and in the results that come out of it, he told reporters. Ms. Fan has said that the firm and others it will oversee are well qualified and well experienced. Now, there is other people involved, apparently, but he's the head. Cyber Ninja is running the show. I think there's 3 or 4 other firms involved in the count, but I don't have a lot of details on them. But he's the one in charge. And apparently he's on the floor, like he's running it from, like he's at base command or whatever you want to call it. He's at the Coliseum. Because the only reporter that was able to get in the building, and we'll talk about some of her tweets in a second, she apparently approached him about some things that she thought were messed up. And finally, this little part just kind of shows that we're just not going to get any transparency on this, and it's going to be a total partisan hack job the whole time. But unease about the audit had continued to mushroom. Mrs. Hobbs, the Secretary of State, who's a Democrat, asked the State Attorney General, Mark Bronovich, a Republican, to investigate the Senate's handling of the procedure, citing a lack of transparency about the security of the ballots. She noted that some of the legislature's furthest right firebrands have had free access to the Coliseum, even as it remained unclear whether reporters or impartial election experts will be allowed to observe the proceedings. He declined. Imagine that. Now, before we move on to some of the great local reporting done in this story, I want to introduce you to one other unsavory character in this story, and that is Mr. Anthony Kern. Let's read about him. On Monday, former Arizona State Representative Anthony Kern tweeted that he would be involved in the recount, #election integrity. I bet. He wrote in his announcement, Arizona House Democrats had a less sunny response, quote tweeting Kern with a picture of him standing in a crowd of Trump fans at the January 6th rally that preceded the attack on the U.S. Capitol. One of Arizona's election auditors reporting for duty, the House Democrats tweeted, #sham audit. Yes, that's right. One of the auditors was actually at the Stop the Steal rally, this former Senator, Anthony Kern. That's the people we're getting here. Put him in the pile with the Cyber Ninja guy, and then apparently the nonpartisan observer, One America News Network. What? Like, I don't think I could make this up. If they were like, make up a crazy right-wing story, I don't think I would even go this far with it. Like, we've surpassed fantasy at this point. Now, I will point out that it appears that Anthony Kern didn't enter the Capitol on January 6th, although he is in a legal dispute over what happened on that day. So that's what it's talking about here when it says another legal dispute. This isn't Kern's first time, but this is just the icing on the cake of how unreliable this guy is. This isn't Kern's first time facing legal scrutiny. Prior to becoming a lawmaker, he worked as a code enforcement officer for the El Mirage Police Department. In 2014, he was fired for misleading his supervisor about a computer tablet that went missing. High crimes and misdemeanors, this guy. I mean, you figure if you're going to get in trouble, don't get in trouble for something that's that stupid. The Phoenix New Times revealed in 2019, as part of his termination, he was placed on the state's Brady List, a compendium of law enforcement officers with known credibility issues. You know, when you don't even have credibility when it comes to cops, you're pretty hard up. You're in a bad spot. In fact, as the New Times noted, even Kerr's claims of being law enforcement were dubious. He was a civilian officer throughout his employment, and though he represented himself as holding a law enforcement certification, and his financial disclosures in 2014, 2015, and 2016, he did not receive peace officer certification until 2017. So apparently he wasn't even a cop when he said he was a cop, but then when he was a cop, he decided, well, I'm going to steal a tablet now, and now he's on a list of shady cops. So yeah, that's our state law enforcement. And then in 2019, while serving in Arizona House, Kern helped to push a bill that would make it easier for people like himself to remove their names from the state Brady List. Colleagues told the New Times that they had not been aware that Kern was on the list. The bill did not pass, but a similar one is currently being debated. So people in Arizona, pay attention to that. Don't let that pass, because if they're shady enough to get on the Brady List, they should probably stay there. And finally, let's talk a little bit about some of the reporting from Jen Fifield, who was the only reporter that was able to get in, because they weren't allowing any reporters in this place. But one reporter was able to get in because she volunteered as an observer. And also this guy, this place is supposed to be secure. They got 2.1 million ballots. They got this whole recount thing. This place is supposed to be locked down. Nobody in or out that, isn't part of the whole process. But this guy just went in there and walked around. It's a really short little video. Again, this is the Coliseum where they're holding 2 million votes, the integrity of the election. This guy's just walking right in there. He got his phone in hand, filming, just walking in. Pretty sure he turns around and there's like a computer. Yeah. Just computers on the floor. Just having a grand old time, just walking around in there. So now he's back for day 2. And still nobody's talked to him, I don't think. Just wandering around where they're having the election recount at, the audit. Hey guys, not exactly sure why, but that guy's audio didn't upload from the video. He's actually talking the whole time, describing what he's doing and how nobody checked him, nobody talked to him, nobody asked him for ID, and that he was just basically going everywhere. But yeah, just thought I'd let you know that. I'm pretty sure it started Thursday. But other than that video, the only other person that got in there was Jen Fifield as far as reporters. And the only reason that she got in is because she volunteered as an observer. And she had a couple interesting run-ins. First, she talked about how observers just got a brief verbal training. We were told to make sure counters were marking votes correctly. Test ballots go first, and the goal is to count 1 real box of ballots per table today. But apparently she said in her Maddow interview that they just told them to watch the ballot counters and didn't give them any actual training. Just kind of said, hey, here you go, watch these people. Didn't show them how the ballots worked. I mean, obviously she knows because that's her beat, but, not everybody's going to know that. I noticed, and then here was probably the most controversial thing of the day. I noticed the counters had blue pins, supposed to only have red when you're around ballots, since ballots can read black and blue ink. Those blue pins the counters have could potentially be used to mark the ballots. I pointed this out to Doug Logan with Cyber Ninjas. So the guy running the audit apparently doesn't even know what color inks can go on can be put on these ballots so they can be read. Now, luckily, She reported later that they were able to get the blue pins off the floor as far as she saw. Because again, she's the only reporter in there, and it's clearly a shit show full of biased figures. But she was able, she reported that they did switch out the blue pins to green and red pins, I guess. So that's good. And when they had these out, they were only doing test ballots. So apparently once the real ballots got to the floor, they did have red and green pins as far as she could see. But still, I don't know how I knew that just because the little bit of, looking into Arizona elections I've done for a couple videos I did back during the election. I know that you can't use blue pins counting the ballots. You can use black or blue. I know that. How the hell does the guy running the audit not know this? I mean, you figure someone might look into that. It just seems very, very sketch. He's either extremely stupid or doing something shady. I mean, I guess you can pick which one you want to go with there. Doug is running this audit. He told me his understanding that was that blue ink was fine. The ballots only read black ink. Then he came back and he said, actually, it seems I am correct, but he still seemed unsure. He said that he would work on this. And then as far as security goes, of people, getting stuff in or not, one other note, I was told absolutely no pen or notebooks on the floor. Then I noticed another observer had a notepad. He said no one stopped him. Later, out of guilt, I guess he went and checked it, but not because security told him so. That's how that finishes. And then she was posting updates on her, breaks or whatever, because it was a 6-8 hour shift or something like that. And then after this little fiasco with the blue pins where she called them out for doing something clearly shady or just dumb, they banned her from posting. She wasn't allowed to post any more updates until after her shift, which just seems kind of odd. Why can't she post about what's going on in this transparent election audit? And I'll link her Twitter down below because she reported a lot about it. I mean, that's pretty much the highlights of it. Also, you can actually volunteer if you're in Arizona. You might want to go out there and fight the good fight and volunteer to be an observer at this thing, because it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to probably take about 40 days. Seems to be the number they're going with. You can sign up to be an observer. She has all the information here if you want to go with that. And then let's look at the what the QAnon crew thinks about all this. We'll go through some of those fancy memes. You got General Flynn, you got Praying Medic. I mean, they're all in on it. Everybody on Telegram, everywhere. They are all about this Maricopa. It is the newest copium they have. You got Pepe Lives Matter. On a scale of 1 to 17, how hype are you for this audit? How about a 0? How about nothing? And then, you got Donald Trump put out a statement that's just ridiculously long and dumb, and we already know what it says. We already know the playbook. And you could look at this thing two different ways. Like, there is a big section of Republicans that believe this whole Stop the Steal narrative, but there is a growing section that think they just need to let this die, and they don't believe in it at all. Like, they don't believe the election fraud narrative. And this whole thing is, like, if they're able to build off of this and somehow get judges in other states or other state legislatures to try and copy this whole Maricopa thing in other swing states where Republicans control the whole legislature, we could be seeing this stuff all year long. It could be November and we could be seeing another audit recount in Pennsylvania. And I mean, there will be some people that make money off of it. It'll be good for their bottom line. But will it hurt them as a party? Will less people want to vote for them because, this is just too much? Like, we're not even in reality at all anymore, even though a big section of them left reality a long time ago. But is there a section of the right that is still somehow hanging on just because they hate Democratic policies that much or just uninformed or whatever it be? So will we see more people come over to the Democratic, to the left, because they're just over this whole election fraud narrative that is going absolutely nowhere? Or will, maybe after the 4th or 5th failed audit in another state, will Q people start to give up? Probably not. It's always going to be the next thing. And there's always going to be another grift for these people to find. because not only are they getting taxpayer money for this, they're raising money off of it. OAN has a fundraiser. Like, it's all about money at the end of the day. That's what they're getting out of this. You know, and Trump keeps his name. Anything that keeps his name out there, that's what he wants. And he'll stay on top of the party. Because, again, I don't think he's going to run in 2024. So he's got to have something to stay relevant. Keep that money coming in. Keep those fundraisers going. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of the breakdown of what's going on with that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I just kind of threw this video together real quick because I just wanted to talk about this story. I've been super busy ever since I started my business back up, out on the road trucking. And plus my computer has been crashing. Like, I was supposed to do a live stream yesterday, but my desktop at home that I just bought back in November, it crashes like every hour. So doing this video was a pain in the ass. I can't even go live. When I get back home for my next trip out, I'm going to, I don't know, go to Geek Squad or something, because I can't figure out what the hell's wrong with it. And like every hour it crashes. But I'm going to start doing more like different videos on this channel. I'm going to do deeper dives, because I'm not going to be able to do as many videos. So yeah, just like I said before, let me know what kind of videos you guys want. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell for notifications, hit the like button, leave a comment, all that stuff. Thank you to everybody that's on my Patreon. I really appreciate you guys. I changed it. There's no longer a $20 tier. It's now, everything that was on the $20 tier is now on the $10 tier, because I just don't think I put out enough content to justify a $20 tier. So I changed it down to a 10. So yeah, this is a long outro, but just let me know what you guys think about this story, and I'm out. See you later. Bye. Peace.